What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Trail Theory Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Alex.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Pfeiffer. Welcome back, everybody, to the Trail Theory Podcast. We actually got a legit intro this time, unlike last episode. Tonight we're going to be talking about...
We'll see how legit it is.
We'll see. I'm going to judge you pretty hard. You know how I do.
All right, no, the floor is
always
yours.
in the hot seat. No, tonight we're going to talk about amazing, interesting, impressive backpacking feats out there in the community and in the
Feats
the
with
world.
an A.
Yes, feats with a what?
Feats with an A.
Oh yeah,
Not like
these.
feats.
Yeah, not these
Yeah.
feats.
I've got some pretty amazing feet.
Do you?
Yeah.
Size 10, 10 and a half, edges on wide, nice high arches.
And not covered in Crocs, which is
not covered in Crocs.
You know, not ideal. But so so I know we've all looked
average.
into.
I use them as koozies at my house, so, you know.
Cruisies.
Yeah, I forgot.
So you don't wear them
It's a new
because
thing. Yeah, it's a new thing we invented.
Yeah, new
Cruisies.
thing that we invented.
strictly for beer, drinks
Consumption.
only.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids use them for LaCroix and soda. So.
Of course.
They have the kids cruisies. So we know we've all looked up some interesting things happening out there and interesting backpacking achievements, whether it's fastest known time or other stuff like that. FKT or slowest known time.
Hey, that's a good
like we've talked about before.
callback. That's a good callback to an Articles episode where I
did
found this
talk,
dude
yeah.
talk about like slowest known times. We don't have to get into it, but like
Just
it's an interesting. It's interesting to think
It's
about.
admirable.
Right. It's admirable. It's cool.
But whenever
like-
people are out there doing something that's
Dude, it's slower than that.
Slow.
It's slower
I
than
know.
that.
It's like having the
sitting
heaviest
at
pack.
It's like sitting at a mushroom for 4 hours.
All right, let's get into this. Do you think... So there's FKTs, fastest known times, and then there's some internet
SKTs.
yahoos who want to do the... Do you think there's someone who's done the Appalachian Trail with the heaviest pack? There's all this ultralight shit. Is there somebody out there that's like, I've done it with 100 pounds?
Well,
like,
I don't
there
know.
has
Like
to
on
be.
pride?
purpose.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be interesting to research.
Why would
I'm
you?
gonna make a note.
There has to be.
To be
to be the
the
heaviest
guy.
guy.
Hey,
right?
There's nothing new under the sun, right? I guarantee somebody's done
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Whether it's been
I crushed
recognized
the AT with blah,
right.
blah, blah. Yeah.
Whether it's been
Hey, and
recognized
if it hasn't
or
been
not.
recognized, maybe you can be the guy.
right,
Maybe.
with the
I want to
homie.
be the guy.
No.
You can do
Ugh.
it with the homie.
I mean,
Throw
dude, there's
80
got to be
pounds in
like,
that thing.
because there's always like,
the ridiculous edges.
right. So like,
Right.
there's always like weird, random things like
Yeah.
Guinness World Records always looking for people like that.
Like triple meat on a burrito from Chipotle or something. Come on.
Quadruple meat. No,
Asinine.
like the fastest marathon in a banana suit, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So I
saw
bet
a guy eating ribs during a marathon this year.
Yeah,
like
dude,
what? You
dude,
crazy
there's
man.
a dude that
Wow.
like ran. There's some like old like Asian dude that chain smoked cigarettes while running a marathon, and I think he broke 4 hours. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, dude, it's like insane. Anyways,
Baller.
that being said, like maybe it's not recorded, but even on accident, somebody had the heaviest
Yeah,
pack,
sure,
right?
sure.
Right.
Somebody
Yeah,
had the... I
The
mean,
first
whether it was
person who
ridiculously
hiked
heavy
it
or not.
had
Right.
the heaviest and the lightest pack at the same time. So
Yeah.
And I think
a
so.
little interesting
And
tidbit.
that's
True. You're absolutely
some
right.
of,
You're not wrong.
I think it's part of human nature to sort of the frontier sort of concept of what's on the fringe, and then I'm going to do that thing. So whether for notoriety or just whatever.
The most people
So-
eating a sandwich in a location.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
you think like hot dog eating contest.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
The whole.
well, if you think about it,
you know.
what I sometimes think
Shout
about?
out to Joey Chestnut.
Joey.
What's up, Joe?
That dude is
You know
a
what sometimes I
monster.
think about? Like somewhere in the world, somebody like farted the most today in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
And
like
they
the
don't,
longest
They probably
fart.
don't know, right?
Nobody knows.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody
No
ate
one
the
will
most
ever
hot
know.
dogs.
Yes.
Records
like,
are broken daily.
Right.
On the daily.
but a lot of times you just don't know. Like
just don't know.
Like somebody blinked the most today.
Yeah.
And they don't know. I just always think that stuff's interesting. Like, where did I rank on the blinking
mine just
scale
exploded.
today?
Yeah, where did I
Like, am I in the top
Why is there not a Peloton app for blinking every day?
Is today the day we were breaking the longest time talking into a microphone?
Did I
consecutive time?
break the top 200 million in the world for blinks? Like, I
Yeah.
want to know.
Woof.
Anyway.
Okay. All right, so we're talking backpacking.
But we are talking like
Backpacking.
specifically
Right.
backpacking. I know that like I did notes on things that that I think are impressive. Not even things that I think that I would want to attempt, but I think they're interesting and they warrant a conversation and are definitely impressive.
So let's go into a
Impress us.
couple
Let's
because
hear
I
one.
think I think the whole point is we need examples. I know we've not ever attempted anything of what we're going to talk about, but it's cool to see people out there in the space who recognize like, oh, I'm going to go do that thing, but do it in such an extreme way that like people are going to recognize.
I think when it comes to like an FKT for like the AT or the PCT or something like that, I don't think I could ever even come close. Like not even a little bit close, because some of these people are doing like 50 to 60 to 70 miles a day.
Well, let's talk about it. Okay, we brought up AT,
let's
fast
do
and
one.
known times. Let's talk about the guy who right now currently holds both the AT and the Pacific Crest Trail supported.
Before we do, okay, let's talk about the AT specifically first,
Okay,
right? Because the AT for a typical thru hiker, it takes 5 to 7 months, okay, for them to do the entire AT. That's from Georgia to Maine, okay? The AT itself is 2,189 miles long with a vertical gain of 465,000 feet, okay? From Georgia to Maine.
Does it math out average miles per day based on that?
I didn't do that.
How many? Hold on. What was the months? How many months?
Well, like 5 to 7.
So do
so
six.
let's say 6.
Do 6. Okay.
Split the difference.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that real quick.
Well, okay, so then going to what Austin had said, yes, the person that currently holds the FKT for both the PCT and the ACT is the same person.
AT.
What did I say?
ACT. It's not
I'm
a
sorry.
test.
That is not a test.
We did that a long time ago.
That's an
long
average. That's
time
an
ago.
average of just
The
over 12
AT.
miles a day.
Just 12 miles a day.
Just
Yeah,
over.
That's okay. That's doable.
that makes sense.
For 6 months.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
still though. Let's
that's
let's
still kinda
recognize
huffing.
that.
Yeah.
12 miles a day.
That's.
I'm not saying we couldn't do 12 miles a day on like a weekend warrior trip. We have
have
done
plenty
more,
of times. Yeah.
But 12 miles. Think about that.
Yeah, but I
12
think you get
miles
into
a
the
day.
Yeah, dude, you
zone,
just
dude.
go.
And listen, when you're out there for 6 months, there are days where you're doing 24 because you're just like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I'm here. It's light. I feel good.
And there's days you do none.
And there's days.
So it
yeah,
evens
correct.
out.
Yeah. So it's an average.
But I guess my point is, even if it was 12 a day, just 12, that's still a lot every single
I guess that is
day.
true. You do have people that take zeros or
Yeah, yeah,
Neros,
yeah.
which is a Nero is
There's
basically
also-
like almost a zero. You're
Right.
going like a mile or something.
There's
like
also
that.
They
sections that
call
are
it
going to
a
be
Nero
way.
because it's near zero.
That's correct.
That is. Yeah.
kinda
There you
cool.
go. You've
Boom.
got
You
it.
got it.
You've nailed it right on the
You
head.
got it.
There's also time sections that are going to be way less challenging that are just
Right.
flat. And you're going to
just crush,
rock
crush.
them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay,
So Austin, who's the the male?
blow our minds.
I'm
That is-
gonna have you pronounce his name.
It's-
Barney the dinosaur.
I think it's pronounced Carl Saba. I think that's
We've
how it's
talked
done.
about him before.
We have.
have talked
And we've
about him
also
before.
butchered his name before.
Yes,
I
we
think
have.
it
That's
is
why
Saba.
I wanted you to go first.
I think it's Saba.
I thought
I'm
it was
pretty sure.
Carol Saab.
It's Carl.
It's Carl.
Carol.
No, so Carl. Yeah, it's not Carol.
K-A-R-E-L.
Okay.
He
Carell
is-
probably.
That's what I thought.
He's
Well, and Brian is Bryan.
See, this shows the peak of like idiocy of this group because like we do know a lot about backpacking and we've always said from the beginning that we do not claim to be the experts.
Yeah.
This is
is
a
exactly
really
it.
good example of that.
I think it's Carell.
So Carl is a Belgian dentist. He's a Belgian dentist and an ultra runner. So
Some people have Nero patience for this podcast, I bet.
we have Nero followers.
I like to round up to the nearest
So,
million.
all right. So,
which would be
straight,
1 million.
Straight up, bro. You talk about never being able to do that. Yeah, you have a family, a job, like your
So
life.
does he.
I understand that, but if he's
Well, his job is that.
if he's ultra
No, it's not. He's a
marathoning and
dentist.
shit, dude, your life is totally different. If you're ultra marathoning and
I
doing
agree
shit like that,
But he completed the AT in 41 days, 7 hours, and 39 minutes.
Assisted though, right?
That is-
Didn't he have like a squad?
That was
yeah, yeah.
supported.
That's
that was
supported.
Yeah,
supported.
so he's carrying like a JanSport on his back
that's-
with like a nut with like a can of Spam.
That's
on it.
53 miles a day, bro.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. I'm not denying that.
Okay, fine.
But I'm
Okay.
saying that's like dudes winning fucking marathons in the world.
You could give me a bike, and I wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, let's talk. You did
well,
say
there's a lot of hills and rocks
Some of that
on the
shit
hill.
is
No, you could give me a
superhuman.
bike and a flat road, and I wouldn't be able to do that.
downhill.
That's insane.
Put me in a wheelbarrow and roll me down, and I still wouldn't be able to get it.
before I go into what I was gonna say. So he's
before we absolutely fucking annihilated your.
He's done a ton of other things too. So like he's also done the Barkley Marathon in like 2019.
Did
I
he
think
complete it?
he was the last man standing in 2019.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, hold on. Going back to Barkley, did he finish Barkley?
Yeah, he was the last man standing.
No, that's different.
No, he was the last person standing in Barkley Marathon 2019.
No,
that's what it says in his bio. Literally word for word in his bio.
What do you thinking Barkley is?
So
'Cause
Barkley,
we talked about that.
We did. I
Yeah.
know exactly what Barkley is. You either complete it or you don't.
Well, he did. He was the
So maybe he was the only one that year to do
to
it.
finish.
complete.
Maybe
Yeah.
There
that's
are
it,
some
yeah.
races that
That
are
no one
last man
finishes it.
standing. Have you heard of those races? Where
you
like
just go until
Yeah,
You just
a
they're
long
like
loop.
Gump. You just
Yeah.
run and run and
well,
run.
so what it is like a lot of times what it is like a 4 or 5 mile loop.
Yeah.
And
No,
then you
you're
just
right.
stop.
Because he was a finisher in 2023 for the Barkley Marathon.
That's that. Okay, see, that's what I was trying to
But
specify.
he also was the world champion backyard ultra with 75 loops.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like
Dude,
that's
you're
the last
super-
man standing.
You're
thing.
super fucking human.
That one is
for
for sure.
Those kinds
so
of
he's
accolades.
doing 75-mile loops in this world champion backyard ultra. So he won that one for the international division. So each loop is 4.16667 miles.
So specific.
So
Yeah, it- right.
300
It's 4.2 miles.
or 2/3.
312.5
So
miles.
basically, the idea
Insane.
behind it is you have a
start time and an end time.
Well, so for each loop, you have a minimum time that you have
Right.
to hit it within, right?
Right.
And then from the time you get back to that loop, you have a little bit of time to sit, get a
donut.
water, a donut,
Yeah.
anything
Do
like
a
that,
micro
and
nap.
then
Yeah.
you
And
do
then
it
you go.
again,
Yeah.
right? And that's insane. Dude,
I mean,
that's crazy.
a record has been broken since he did that. I think the record is some Harvey. I think is his last name. But he did like 450
Spectre?
miles. No, not Spectre.
Sorry.
He did like 450
Resist.
miles, which is the
Some
record
good
for the
watching
whole thing.
suits.
This
But
dude's.
so-
Let's just say this dude's got a lot of.
He's an
impressive
insane
feats.
athlete.
Yeah,
And
he's
dude,
a good athlete.
and straight up like impressive athlete, but fucking genetics, bro.
Dude.
Like that's I think about like straight up my brother's calves. Like, dude.
The Vipers.
Yeah, the Vipers.
Those aren't like you don't just like muscle up for that shit. Like this dude, some of his like his lung capacity, his body structure, like
Well, and they
there are
have-
some
there is
things
an
that
element-
are
right, there is-
untrainable and
There is an element of that.
uncoachable.
I remember watching a documentary. I can't remember who the subject of it was exactly, but there is an element to that because they do studies and they'll be like,
100%.
"Oh, the lactic acid buildup for this particular person is just
Off the charts.
No, it just doesn't exist.
Oh,
like that's
right.
that's the reason why we get tired, like normal
Exactly.
people. And there's some people who genetically have some advantages, and then they just capitalize on that. And they're like, "Well, I can run forever.
good.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, go do this." Thing.
I have a question.
He's gonna become really good at it.
Alex, your brother Mike. For those who don't know who Mike is, which is most people, he's he's in his 40s, right? And he's like a pretty he looks like he's kind of jacked, but he doesn't lift weights, does he?
He does, and he
does.
used
Oh, he
to,
does.
He used
Yeah.
to like.
Okay, I
not
was
a-
gonna
not
say,
a
like-
ton, but like his calf muscles, like
Oh,
I always
they're
like,
unreal. Like,
they
he
look
can't
like
wear a
they
pair
look
of
like
jeans.
drumsticks, dude.
They
They
can
look
hold
like
up a house.
chicken drumsticks.
Yeah.
He'd
man.
have to wear like Jinko, like
Yeah.
Dude,
like
they're
huge.
wide
friggin'
leg
monsters,
bell bottoms.
man.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
man.
He's only
Yeah.
ever wearing shorts, even in the winter. Like
Yeah, he's always doing.
no,
it.
no.
If
he
they're,
wears
if they're pants, they're zip off.
Dude, it's bananas. Yeah.
breakaways.
But like, I mean, he lifts, but not to the point where it's like that's all he does. So he's like,
Yeah.
he doesn't look like one of those dudes who's like a muscle man.
He could be a bodybuilder.
Oh,
That dude,
100%.
he's got that physique that he could
100%.
totally do that if he wanted
But
to.
he doesn't do that, and like the fact that his body composition is that just from like genetics. Dude, that kind of shit's bonkers.
he couldn't do the AT in 41 days.
No.
He's not
Dude,
built for
I'm
that.
going to say that there's only a couple
some
of people
people are.
on this
Yeah,
earth
right.
that can do that.
Okay,
Right, exactly.
so
If he
That's
wasn't,
you
if
have
he
to
wasn't
be-
lifting the host and he was lifting weights, he'd be jacked.
it's got to be a.
That's some,
true
inside, that's
feat.
some inside baseball. He's a priest, so
Yeah.
that's why I make that.
It's got to be a combination of those genetic advantages and your ability to capitalize on them and train to the nth degree.
Once you
which I
it's
know
like recognizing
it's-
your like gift and talent,
And
like
then- right.
and then exploding it.
And then
Not
also
hiding it under a
murdering
basket.
the mental capacity it has for you to be able to for you to be able to like kind of just go into a pain cave and
Right.
like endure pain, because like it's not pleasant to run 50 or 60 miles a day. Like it's just not.
Yeah,
Your
You're
body,
just suffering.
dude. Yeah, you have to be able to mentally suffer and be
Yeah.
okay with the suffering.
Yeah.
But you also
there
have
is
time to recover. I mean, like time is a certain element to all of that.
I think with something like that too is because like everybody has their limit of where it really starts to be a mental struggle, and a guy like that, he reaches that probably way past where other people would.
Oh, for sure.
But everybody gets to it,
Right.
and
Yeah,
so he
it's-
still has to get to that point to get.
Well,
over
and,
it
and that's
mentally.
where the training piece of it comes, or the training piece of it, because everyone has that, but like all four of us, if we decided, Austin, you've been running a lot, you're doing marathons, you just finished one. If all of us, if we really set to it, we could push that limit further.
Oh, it's possible.
But where some people are going to have advantages where their baseline limit's going to be much further down,
Yes,
but then
right,
they
right,
have
right.
to push it even further to get to do stuff like this, where it's
Where they have
just
to push
inhuman,
themselves
right?
is different. Dude, think about this. We talk about Alex Honnold a number. We've probably to a pretty good length.
yeah.
How
I've
many-
mispronounced his name multiple times.
You
Just
have,
like Carl.
How many Carell? Steve Carell? How many freaking people do you think on this planet would scale El Capitan with no rope?
Well, maybe we just haven't heard of them because they died.
How many people
Successfully.
Successfully,
Seriously,
yeah. We don't really hear
well,
the other side of
zero,
that
right?
story.
Has anybody
Straight
else
up
done that?
fear.
I don't
no,
think
no
on
one
El
else
Cap,
has.
no.
His
probably not.
fear threshold
Right. It's just
is just not scared. He just has
in
no
a more
fear.
in a more general sports term, it's kind of like Tiger Woods. Like Tiger Woods' focus is so insane, but he didn't learn that. He wasn't totally born with that. Like that was kind of ingrained with him
Sure.
from a young age. But like, dude, that focus and that to be able to like
It's intangible.
mentally,
but you still
get
have
that in there.
to recognize it.
It's once you recognize it
and
and
then hone it
harness
all
and then
of
harness it and hone it and then push
Yeah.
it further,
Yeah.
right?
So
Because,
anyways,
I
like-
got this gift. I'm gonna go.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my thing.
Yes, 100%. So like going back into like this incredible feat, like dude, it's just such a yeah. Again, this is not something that I have any interest in doing, and I'm not trying to
No.
be in the fastest at anything like that. But it is incredible. Even if he had a support team, it's not. But again, it's not like this dude had like drones dropping off like
No, yeah.
nutrition, and,
Amazon
like,
Prime
yeah,
truck
no, he didn't
following
have
him.
like
Right.
17 people with him. Like he probably
Yeah.
had like two.
I think it's two other guys.
Other guys.
If
Well,
you
there's a
put it-
documentary that they have that Backcountry did for his PCT.
Yeah.
FKT
Well, we
attempt.
talked about this because
We
what was
have.
incredible about that one too is that not only did he beat it, the fastest known time, but he had to take a huge detour
Like
because of
60
wildfires.
like 70 miles.
That
or
was a
something
good.
like
that,
that.
that was a
Yeah.
good Articles episode.
Yeah.
It was.
So also okay. So put it in like like way oversimplify the feat itself. Okay, like take out. Even if he had a support system that carried all of his shit, like let's pretend he wore a tank top, a pair of running shorts, and a pair of fucking trail shoes. Let's take it to that nth degree.
Oh, yeah.
He did what 56 miles a day.
Yeah, and I think
that's
yeah.
why. That's
could
why.
you, could you
no,
do 50
that's why-
straight miles a day
no.
for 41 days?
That's
couldn't.
why I made the joke, and I was. I was.
no one could.
I was saying it in jest, but I'm kind of serious. Give me a bike and a flat road. I'm not sure I could do that for that length of time.
How
Yeah.
many miles?
53 a day.
No, but in total, you're talking about for the 18.
No. I'm just
no.
a day for 41 days.
Yeah.
53.
Yeah.
I think I
53.
could do a bike 50 miles a day. I would be shredded.
Dude,
Your
yeah.
ass would be
My
shredded.
body would hurt.
Yeah.
Dude.
41 days.
Get that body glide.
Okay.
50 miles on a bicycle, not terrible.
What about a skateboard?
41 days in a row.
What about a Razor scooter? Are we talking
ridiculous
rollerblades, my
Rollerblades,
brother?
for sure. I would choose
Dude,
rollerblades.
I could,
Yeah,
I could
chew
probably
your
do
ankles up.
56
for
on a
41
bike.
days straight. That's
That'd be Now I'm
now
tempted.
you're on your feet.
Well,
God, that's a
this
long-
dude's also like hits the Peloton,
ridiculous.
right? Like I don't ever ride a bike or a
but
stationary
still,
bike.
like
So
I don't know. That's
I would not
that's
be
a
ready
ton-
for that.
That's a ton
I
of
think
miles.
you probably do it. Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't be too bad.
hold on,
But a
let's go
bicycle,
down.
that's a
Let's
mechanical
go down,
advantage.
Let's go down one level further. What speed are you going? So imagine what is it a 12-hour hiking day? Are you going from 7 to 7, 8 to 8? I imagine to try and hit those miles.
Probably.
So if
well,
you're
because you
doing,
can't like run it.
I mean,
I think
sections
some
of
of
it you
them are-
probably can.
I think
Yeah.
if you're doing
Some
56
of the guys
miles,
are running. You're gonna
have to.
and you're
You're gonna
pushing,
have
I
to.
think
You
you're
have to.
treating it like
Yeah.
a trail run. You have
Yep.
to.
So
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
was
You
it
have
was it
to.
53 or 56?
Yeah, dude, you have
miles,
to.
dog.
That's crazy. All right, we're getting hung up on this one.
Well,
guys.
hold
But
on a
it's,
second.
I mean, the math is just mind-boggling.
I
Like,
do want to
it's
point this
insane.
out because you guys keep saying it was assisted and supported and stuff like that. I did look up the fastest known time for an unsupported
Okay.
AT through hike.
So what is that? Okay, let's guess. Let's guess.
no. I don't like the guessing game because
I
we're either
love-
going to
I
be
love
like way
guessing.
too
No,
let's
slow.
do it.
or
Hold
How
on.
many days? How many days do you think? Do you
So-
days or miles?
I have,
Unsupported-
I have
unsupported on the
days,
AT?
hours, and minutes.
All right, I'm
let's
gonna
at
say
least get to days. This is unsupported.
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 Just 2 days. Just 2 days.
Just 2 days.
I'm gonna go 58.
Okay.
58 days.
92.
That's a good guess.
92.
That's a really good guess. I'm gonna do 63.
Dude, 92 is half the time it takes for most people. It's 3 months.
Actually, no. Wait, hold on. Fully unsupported. 40. It was 41.
41 days.
An average is 6
Yeah.
months.
I said 58.
No, I'm gonna do 63.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
58.
58,
92.
92,
Holy shit, 63.
and 63. So Joe Stringbing.
Stringbing.
is his trail name.
Hell yeah!
He completed it on August 31st in 2017 and did it in 45 days.
What the?
12 hours and 15 minutes.
That's
So
That's almost more impressive.
that is
That is
way
more
more
impressive.
impressive.
Way
It's
more
not
impressive.
almost, brother. That is more impressive.
No,
That
40
is the FKT.
Five.
unsung
days.
string bean, unsung hero.
Dang.
Dude.
String beat. String
Dang.
beat.
Whoa.
String bean, string bean.
So those were the two male
That's wild.
supported
Dude.
and self-supported.
Whoa.
The
What about female?
female supported FKT is Liz Durstein. She did it in 51 days, 16 hours, and
So
30 minutes.
fast.
Unsupported.
That was
That's
supported.
supported. That's
supported.
supported.
Elizabeth
Damn.
Snorkel Thomas.
See, the
Snorkel.
unsupported ones have the great
Snork.
trail
I
names.
know, right?
Snorkel.
Snorkel.
She did it self-supported and did it in 80 days, 13 hours, and 11 minutes.
Snorkel.
What a baller.
So that's a bigger.
Snorkel.
Man, that's amazing that
Now-
the difference between
Unsupported
Unsupported
and
and
supported.
supported is
Now,
that
what
narrow.
I do want to, I saw this and I was like dumbfounded that someone actually tried it. So, if no one knows what a yo-yo is, in terms of backpacking, a yo-yo is basically like
No.
going there and
No.
back.
yo-yo
Someone
the AT.
yo-yoed the AT.
Someone yo-yoed the AT.
And is there a fucking trail name Yo-Yo?
no.
If
Duncan?
anyone deserves it.
Butterfly.
So,
Brain? Like, come on.
Walk the dog.
So to do a yo-yo on the AT, it's 4,378
year and a
miles.
half.
The vertical gain for the AT to doing a yo-yo is almost 1 million feet. It's 930.
Well, I'll see you in 4 months. I'm going to leave this here in a hole.
Peter Wetzel completed it.
Are we guessing?
No,
No.
just give it to me.
307 days, 9 hours, and 10 minutes.
Listen, bro, that's a lot of
Whoa.
hiking.
So, all right, hang on. But then, no,
Whoa.
that's insane. So wait,
Just wait till
Less
you
than a
get
year. It took them less than a year to go there and back
Wow.
for AT.
for the AT. Gosh. And think about this too, because that means that when people do the AT, when they time it up, they time it to where
With the weather.
so they
Yeah.
don't have to hike through a bunch of snow and shit like that and have all that. But
Hashtag Bill
He's
Wetzel's
gonna
just
have
like,
that-
F it, man.
But wait,
Peter.
hold on.
Peter.
Hey, it's impressive, but it's surprising to me because if the record for unsupported is 45 days
Yeah.
to get from point to point, and you turn around and do it again, I understand.
gotta think about-
holy
Trick
shit.
question.
You gotta
dude.
think
There's
about-
only been one person to ever
Yeah,
try
right.
this.
No, no,
Well, I don't know if one
I'm
person
not,
ever tried,
I'm
but,
not
like-
expecting.
Yeah, but think
I'm
of
not
the
expecting
weather,
it to be
dude.
41
The weather's
times
gotta
2.
be
Like
bananas.
it's not going to be 82 days dude's just like, oh, just do it again.
It doesn't just mean 162.
I guess the female
was 82.
But that's a big difference between 41 and 307.
I think you gotta like
You can't
factor
run
in, like,
all of it.
I think you gotta factor like weather.
Yeah, dude, you
and
can't
then
run
also
all
just
of
like
it.
endure like that much more.
Yeah, dude. That's
Dude,
a
that's a
long
lot.
time.
And that's probably unsupported, I would say.
and
I want to
Okay,
ask.
so
I
if
want
you
to ask
took
Carl to go do a yo-yo.
52
and see
if you
Carell?
if you said
He's not gonna be able
56
to.
52 miles a day, doing that for 80 days in a row,
Right.
dude, you're
There's a point
at
where
some
you
point your
tap
body
out.
says
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, no
and
way.
I did do the math, and I hope I did it right, but I think it's about 4.5 miles an hour you're averaging, which, like,
We average
Like
2.
2.5.
And
we're-
and that's moving
when
good.
when we're cooking and we're on
It's
a
like
flat,
we did 3 the last time. I
we
think
could we
averaged
could get
3-ish.
between 2, maybe
Dude, you're
just
running.
over 2.
You're running.
You're
You're
jogging.
straight running.
You're jogging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
think so.
a run is, I think, more than 4. If
All
you're
right.
running, but still, you're
All right,
jogging.
let's move on.
This stresses me.
We've been.
It does. I'm anxious right
about
now.
20 minutes we've been talking about.
Let's
this
talk about
stuff.
turtles
It is
or
very
pooping
impressive.
on the trail
But
or
I've
something.
got a good story. I've got a good feat that I'm pretty impressed with. Plus, it's pretty cool because it's like a first person kind of thing rather than like a fastest time.
Well, let me pause you there for
Okay.
2 seconds, because when someone was talking about this earlier, the first we were talking about first. I think we've had a first, and we've talked about this before.
Podcasting on the trail.
Podcasting
have,
in the
yeah,
White
yeah,
Mountains,
White
Mountains.
in Gray Knob.
Yeah.
And then just recently in Black Forest, which go check out the episode.
Yeah,
put it in
it's
the
there.
record books.
I feel like every
Maybe there'll
time.
be-
Well, actually, 2 firsts.
Maybe
because
there'll
we
be
had a podcast in the Whites. We
And
had
then
a video podcast.
There's going to be a podcast talking about us doing it for the first
There
time out
is.
there.
Do you
You're
think?
like,
one day.
Do you truly think though that we're the first?
no?
I think
Really?
we're the first in the White Mountains in Gray Knob.
Well, they did.
Well,
The
that's
caretaker
very
said that.
specific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I'm
a very
quite
specific
confident of
thing.
that. But I mean, dude, how many clowns out there have podcasts about backpacking and are out
That
there
are doing it
taking
on the
it to the
trail.
trail with their audio
Yeah.
equipment? I think the
There's 4 right
odds
here.
of that happening are pretty low.
In a way that you're not just using like a
A
camera to
phone-
capture everything.
Yeah. To the
I would-
caliber at which we're doing it.
I'm going to count it. I'm going to count it. Guinness, look
Count
us
it.
up.
I want to know.
All right. So this dude, I don't know if you've heard of Dave Kunst before, but
No.
this dude is
No.
he's the first person to walk around the world.
Oh.
And this dude, okay, so
No.
he did it from 1970 to 1974. So it took him 4 years to do it, but this is like the 1970s,
Yeah, dude.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're
Like-
walking on water, I imagine it would take 4 years.
yeah, that is true. What did he do for
Yeah, how
the
did-
water segment?
well, you either
A boat?
take a boat or you
Okay.
fly, right? Because
Yeah.
Does he have to be walking on a treadmill the whole time the boat's going across?
He's like, I'm not done walking.
that would be the feat to have to walk the entirety
Yeah, right.
of the water sections too, even if it's on a treadmill.
So
That-
the story is pretty
That's
wild.
the move.
So just first off, some of the stats, like obviously from 1970
And
to
continuous,
1974,
right? Like,
continuous, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and so total, it's 15,000 miles. Right, that's what it is
Whammo.
on land to like get around. He started in Minnesota, and basically him and his brother took off with $1,000 and a mule.
Dang.
and a Lucy light.
And a Lucy
And a
light.
Lucy
Yeah,
light.
and a Lucy light.
That's great.
But basically, and then they also had like a letter of recommendation from like a senator. It's kind of like just like a hey, I'm trying like he's traveling around the
safe
world.
travel in countries.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and like, hey, I'm a representative of the United States.
That
I've
makes
got,
sense. Okay, I get
this,
it.
this,
Yeah. Makes sense.
John Boy up in, Minnesota says this is
Yeah.
cool. So, but like a grand and a
John
mule.
Boy.
And this is
Grand
the
and a
craziest part about the whole thing. When he, like I said, he started off with his brother, John. So John and Dave took off.
John bailed, didn't he?
Dude,
Unfortunately,
it's going to be darker than that. You
not.
know it.
So
No,
when they
no.
were in Afghanistan, both of them were shot.
Oh, my
And John
God.
died.
Whoa.
No.
Seriously?
100%. Dave got shot in the chest and survived. I believe it was about 4 months he was holed up, and he continued.
They kept him captive.
No. Like he was recovering. in the
Oh,
hospital.
recovering.
Like
Oh,
he had
geez.
like
Okay.
injuries from like getting shot.
Here, I thought you were going to
Whoa,
say, oh,
dude.
he wore the same Viore t-shirt for all miles. And yeah, the home we got
isn't
shot.
Isn't that crazy? Like, dude, the guy,
Dang.
like, he's the first, and he continued. He
Damn.
was like, I'm going to continue this. I'm going to go. There's a like this dude should probably have like a movie or a documentary about it, and I didn't find anything. I found a podcast episode about a guy who talks about like ultra running, and he had a full podcast about this, and I kind of just like skipped through and listened to it.
They weren't
incredible
podcasting
things.
for the first time like from the trail though, were they?
No, but it was
didn't
a
think so.
live
Yeah,
podcast.
I didn't think
and from
so
the
either.
sound of it, this like 7-year-old dude was the host of it, and the sound of it, like there were a decent amount of people in the crowd because they were like, "Hey,
Sick.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that story is sensational.
It's crazy.
Wow.
And,
Nuts.
yeah, so it's pretty nuts. So basically, yeah, he like I said, it was either like plane or boat to like get over water, but like he would go all the way through like, you know, he was able to like go through Russia, and then he took a plane all the way down to Australia, and then hiked across Australia.
Listen, I don't give a shit how the
he got
homeboy did it.
apart
The fact that he
land.
did it, like, yeah, it's like the route
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter.
insane. Yeah, and he went through 21 pairs of shoes over those 4 years.
Hell yeah,
which is crazy, you know. But dude, it's insane. Yeah, like
Which is I've on. All right, keep going. I'm gonna
you're
come back
good.
to the. All right, so
I don't have much else. It's just
Okay.
like it's pretty
the
incredible.
shoes thing just stood out to me. Because we on a recent episode we talked about, was it Paul Johnson, the guy who just ran across the country?
Dude,
Okay,
this
yeah.
is the exact same thing that I
Did
thought
it in
about.
like 3
So-
days.
No,
21
no,
back in the 70s.
He did it in like a ridiculous.
Was it? Would you say 1970s? What was it?
70s.
Okay,
Early
so
70s.
Early 70s. This guy took 21 pairs of shoes,
Running
to walk
shoes.
15,000 miles.
Yeah.
And nowadays, Paul, shoe technology has advanced to exponentially. And
I've
I
talked
know
about this
he-
guy in his shoes so many times, so
And
I have so
he,
many comments.
and he showed off at the end. No discredit to what Paul Johnson did. Running across the U.S. is awesome.
no.
But I know he was showing off how many shoes he went through, and it was way more than 21.
Well, I'll
Is
tell
that
you
right?
why. I'll
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
why. Okay, because I
For
know
3,000,
I know
running
who you're
shoes-
talking about.
Running shoes
I
should
know-
only last you like 250 miles anyways, right? Like the foam breaks down after a certain
Depends.
amount of time.
It does,
Depends.
but okay. So Paul Johnson wore a very specific shoe,
Yeah.
which is interesting for a lot of runners because he wore a Hoka Bondi 8, which is it's a max cushion
Huge, yeah,
type
yeah.
shoe,
Huge,
right?
huge
It's a
frame, yeah.
big, beefy, kind of heavy shoe in the grand scheme of things when it comes to running. But Paul's doing. I think he ended up doing like 50 miles a day. He was hoping to do 70 miles a day to break the record, but he ended up doing like 45 to 50 miles a day. But yeah, he used that shoe specifically. He
Yep.
brought a bunch with him, and he went through. I don't remember how many it went, but like
I
we're
just-
talking about
yeah.
months of running,
Right.
Compared to 4 years, and
Yeah.
I mean it was a lot of shoes. Like he broke down, but the foam's
I wish I knew the
different,
number, but I
Yeah.
know he did a post after where he kind of was dumping everything out on the bed, and it was a lot.
A lot of shoes,
It filled
dude.
up it filled up a whole bed.
I mean, I remember seeing like the blue Hoka boxes that he was
Yeah.
like packing into the into his truck.
There's a lot of shoes.
because you're gonna rifle through them. But yeah, you're right. Like 21 pairs of shoes
That
sounds like a
seems
lot,
low.
but over 4 years, and you're
It's not a lot at all.
Not a
walking
lot at all.
15,000 miles across. It's not even
Right.
just the walking, just like travel in general. is
Also
just
the
like-
elements. You're not like on a road the whole time.
No.
You've
Yeah,
got-
some of
I
that's
mean,
dirt. Yeah.
You're
Dirt.
gonna-
No.
if
You're
you're
gonna have
walking
to
through
trek up and
Russia,
through
you're going
mountains
through
and shit like that.
There's
too.
a guy that that I follow right now that's doing a walk around the world, and he's like 14 or 15 months into it, and like
Yeah.
most of the stuff, especially like right now, I think he's in I can't remember where in Asia, but it's like it's pretty primitive.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
dude, yeah.
So
I imagine
it's
that's gonna be
not
the majority.
it's dirt, it's path, it's
Right.
not street or anything like that. So yeah, it's pretty
It's
crazy.
interesting,
I
for
just
sure.
thought that was a cool one. There is a little bit of dispute that someone may have done it in the late 1800s, but like there's not enough
How would you
evidence
know?
at that
Yeah,
time.
right.
So
Yeah.
like maybe somebody else has walked across the earth. Before
I gotta
this
believe
guy,
that
but, like,
someone else has, but still, right? Okay.
But again, like were people before the 1900s going out with a purpose like that to do that kind of thing?
Dude, no,
I don't think
their
so.
purpose was different. At that
They
point.
wanted to,
Yeah.
To live.
Yeah, and modern
live
technology,
life. To live.
flying and boats. I mean,
Yeah.
think about the technology to get across the ocean at that
Dude,
time too.
Yeah.
You're on fucking like Viking ships and shit, dude.
Dude, isn't it like?
No,
isn't
yeah,
it
it's
like?
very different.
The time from now, from when we landed on the moon, is longer from the time we landed on the moon to when flight was invented.
Say that again. I don't know if I followed.
So
From when to when to when to when?
so we are farther away from the moon landing
Yeah.
than the moon landing was from
From
when
flight.
flight was invented.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
They
So think about like because the early 1900s technology is like just
No, you're good.
blistered, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
flight to the moon. It's like insane. So like think about like
But
what
it's
people
race
were
to
doing
do
before
it.
the 1900s.
It's this. I mean, that's what technology does. It is you're always going to be, as technology improves, it improves faster.
you find
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one
the
thing,
development curve, yeah.
and there's a lot of times
Skyrockets.
it's that one thing that
Yeah.
amplifies 1,000 other things
Exactly.
to keep going forward.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
anyways, that's not what this is
But
about.
what's
I just
funny
think
is
it's
as
interesting.
we do that, and like things like this, because even in the 1970s, I think this might have been true. But back when aviation was in its infancy and doing that, like it was, I'm going to fly around the world, right? And then before that with sailing, it's like I'm going to sail around the world.
Right.
And as we've gone,
right, yeah.
now we've accomplished all those things, and we kind of go back. It's like, I'm going to walk around the world. We've
back to
been
the
walking
basics.
forever. Like
been
I'm
walking
gonna,
around
right
forever,
So, but
yeah.
now I can. So we're using more like
Technology has
primitive-
allowed you to do it
Right, we're going to go
Yeah.
backwards technology-wise to say, like, I'm going to use that, but use it to do a...
That's the
yeah,
cool thing
impressive
about
thing.
technology. And like, I mean, we're talking about backpacking and in the context of what that truly is. It's like just walking in the woods with shit on your back, right?
right.
Yeah.
So I think when you consider like the simplification of like human nature, right? And the things that we have a lot of technology. We're surrounded by it, but we go outside to get away from it.
Exactly,
Right?
right.
Like it's just interesting to
We want
compare
to
it.
go out of our way to make things harder while also using, like, pretty impressive technology.
Yeah, and some of the
Right.
modern
Tech on everything
technology
is
we
pretty
use
good.
is incredible,
Right.
right? I mean, talk about footwear, backpacks, all the jazz. Like,
but
that's
like,
incredible.
But that, and the AT thing to an extent, but even that, it's like, that makes me, it's like, man, I don't want to go out and walk around the world. But it kind of sets that sort of internal thing in motion. It's like, well, what would it take? What would I have to do if I wanted to go that many miles? And I was going to be like, I'm going to walk every day locally or do a thing
yeah.
until I hit that. It's like, how long would it take me, or could I do 15,000 miles in that time frame just doing it,
So I'm gonna marry
Around here.
I'm gonna marry that feat with another
Would you
feat,
want
and we don't have
to?
to dive too deep into it, but it's just like an
be something.
interesting. It's an interesting like parallel type of feat. But around the same time, I think like mid to late 70s, this is when this person started this. But it's the longest continuous hike because we talked about like Dave did was the first person to rock around the world. There's another person, George Megan, who has the longest continuous hike, and it's 19,000 miles, so longer.
What?
And it is from the most southern tip of South America all the way to the northern tip of Alaska.
oh my gosh.
It took him
Wow.
6 years
So
to do
how
it.
do we do, what's
Wow.
continuous mean?
So like he didn't cross an ocean.
Okay, so
It's all on land.
Oh,
One,
wow.
yeah, continuous
And
trail.
you see the map. I saw the map of it, and it's not just like whoop. Like he's like
had to jog
he kind
around
of like
a little
went across America
Yeah.
because like when he was in America, he went and like visited President Carter like at the White House, and then like
So he went to
continued. So like
DC?
he had some like so like
Yeah.
he had like news coverage and stuff like that.
Sure,
this dude
sure.
wasn't just like doing it and then said, "Hey," at the end, "Hey, I did this."
Yeah.
Like there was a little bit of like a fanfare around it, but dude, 6 years, 19,000 miles from South America to Alaska. Interesting enough, just like R.I.P. buddy, he passed away in 2024. Like,
Oh,
he
wow.
just,
Oh,
he
wow.
just passed. But yeah, pretty incredible.
Damn. I
That's
mean,
wild.
I'm going to go walk around my 1 mile block 19,000 times over the next 6 years.
Well, it's funny you say that because I keep seeing this like I don't know if it's like real or not, but I keep seeing this meme on like running accounts on Instagram of this dude who like ran an ultra in his cul-de-sac.
oh no,
And it's
dude.
just,
It's
you know
just
what?
a
I
circle.
don't like
It's just
an
an
orange circle like this. He's
Going
like,
around and
got
around
my
and
100
around.
miles
Yeah.
in. It's so I don't know
Yeah.
if it's memed or not, but like
I
it's,
think-
dude, how insane would
you
that
would
be?
drive yourself insane. I would
Absolutely.
lose it.
I would lose it.
Absolutely.
I would lose the interest. Like there would be not a podcast or a record that I could
No.
listen to that would just keep me captivated.
I did a 15-mile race on a loop that was like a little under 2 miles per loop. So it was like kind of,
Yeah.
That's a little more interesting.
and
though.
even that was like
Dude, when I was even running track and stuff,
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
would do it on
dude.
like a 2 mile race on the track where each mile's 4 times around, man, halfway through you're like, this is boring.
You know what's funny though, because like I was just gonna say, like I go to an area to do a trail run, and it's like it's a little over 3.5 miles for each loop, and I can do that 3 times, and it's like after the 3rd time I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I don't want to go around this thing again, and I don't want
Right.
to see that sign anymore. But like I've also run like 10 miles on a treadmill though.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. It's different.
But when there's that
expecting
good,
it,
when you got ESPN
That's
in
harder.
front of
Right.
you.
I think 10 miles on a treadmill is like harder than like doing 20 miles on the road. Like that is so difficult for me.
Yeah.
I can't.
I'd rather run
my head
around a 1 mile block 10 times than do
I
10
think so.
miles on treadmill.
Yeah.
for
There's
sure.
I think
I
it's-
watch a movie though, and that's
Yeah,
zone
ESPN
out.
on TV, baby.
Just
I could
zone
do.
out.
Yeah, I've
even
done
that,
it.
even then, I
know,
can't
man.
do it. I don't know what it
No.
is. I've tried because this spring was the first like spring marathon I ever trained for. So like part of it starts in the winter, and dude, we get so
Right.
much snow, and I was like, I have to go to the gym, and I only went like 2 or 3 times
To do
because it was
treadmill.
just
hard.
like
Yeah, the weather
I
was
couldn't do it.
fair.
Wait, hold on a second. Was I the first person that witnessed you running on a treadmill for the first time?
Oh my God, Brian!
I think I
you
was.
were. This was like probably like 4 years ago or
Yeah.
something like that, and
We went to my gym.
it must have been winter, and you like I was able to come as like a guest
Yeah.
with you to your gym.
Yeah.
And dude, I was like a wobbly.
Yeah, dude, that's
I was like wobbly when I got up. I was like, ugh. It was such
It's a weird feeling the
sensation.
first few times.
In fact,
I agree.
I was like getting bored, and I tried to watch something, and like I got like dizzy. Like it
Yeah,
got like
I can't do it.
motion
That's
sickness.
right.
I can't do it. I can listen to music. I
That's
can't watch
right. I'm
anything.
so glad I got to be the first
Yeah.
person to witness you run on a treadmill.
So weird.
That's
Yeah.
great. Talk about feats.
But I will say, wow, that was terrible.
That's amazing.
Well done.
That was very good.
I needed that.
But actually, that goes. If you're literally running around the country like Paul did, or actually, how did he connect all that? What land masses did he actually hit? So it was all North America.
the
all
world,
the continents.
all of it.
Well, no, the continuous one, because he didn't stop. Right? Where
No, I
South-
told you.
South,
He
South
went
America,
from
South
to
America
Alaska.
to
the
Alaska.
tip, most southern tip of South America to
Got it. Okay.
northern tip of Alaska.
But he
So-
like zigzagged,
which is
through
actually
and, like,
more mileage than around
the
the
world.
Earth.
okay.
Which makes sense because there's no oceans. It's
Right.
just and obviously he like.
And if
zigzagged
you're
a little
talking
bit.
continuous, I mean, it's not like it's straight fucking line.
Right,
Like,
but if you're
the
gonna-
trail
I mean, if you're gonna
doesn't
the
exist.
Earth
something-
is as tall as it is long.
If you're gonna
or
do
wide,
something like that,
right?
like I mean,
It's not an oval.
he's seeing something. He's seeing something new every single day for
Right.
6 years.
Right.
6 years, dude.
That's
That's
like
kinda cool
think
to
about
think
when
about.
that's a
think
cool
about when we-
concept,
right.
but
Yeah.
dude, doing anything for 6 years,
Right, but
every
still,
day.
but
It's a
think
lot,
about
but-
think about when we go out on a weekend trip, and it's like we like doing the loops because it's new all the way around, right? And it's like we get 3 days. Of
3 days
seeing-
feels awesome.
Seeing something like new. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Imagine like every day is like I'm going to see something I've never seen before.
I'll bet
My
though,
daughter's 7. Like that dude
His whole-
walked
yeah, that
for
whole
like
life.
An entire
most
lifetime.
of my daughter's
Yeah.
life. Like,
I'm gonna
it's
guess
crazy to
and-
think
and-
about.
And I think, and I've watched a few documentaries about people that have bike packed across the country.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess surely there's something new every day. I'm gonna guess that 60% of those days are just boring.
Yeah.
You're just mentally crushing.
Maybe not
through it.
Probably
60, but
true.
there's definitely time.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you think about
Things don't
riding a
change that fast.
bicycle
Yeah.
from California to wherever out on the East Coast, you
New
pick a
York.
spot. Yeah,
Well, if you, I
The-
mean,
the amount-
you've driven across some
I'm
on
just
your road
telling
trips.
you, brother.
If
like
you're driving
the
in a
amount
car-
of, the amount of boring out
Yeah.
there, there's a lot of it.
But is it different when you're on your feet? I mean, you could drive in a car for 100 miles across something flat.
Yeah, because you're
I don't
actively
know,
having
Brian.
to do something. Your
It's
brain
I'm
is
just
getting
saying.
a lot of other things.
I'm just saying. There's majesty in simplicity.
I'm not going to deny
right?
that you wouldn't be able to like make something of it every day. I'm not going to deny that. But
We'll get Paul Johnson on the podcast.
there's some pretty
Have him
boring
talk
shit
about-
out there, dude.
I mean, if you're running across,
I mean, there are
Idaho
people
or
that
whatever.
do the AT that it's like there are some days that
Or
are a
Kansas.
drag, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well,
I think
and-
that's
yeah,
in
we're right.
anything
6 years
you're
are gonna have
featuring,
that.
you know?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
but
a long
I
time.
think that's kind of the beauty. Can you find beauty in the drag, right? Because it's
Oh,
like it's
that's the magic.
this is mundane. This is flat. I feel like I've seen this already, but I'm on my feet. I'm doing this thing. I'm not just in a car breezing through 100 miles. There's even majesty in that.
Oh, I agree.
Even though it's not like a vista that's like mind blowing every single morning.
You have to be present.
He wouldn't have done that for 6
For
years
that.
if there wasn't a little bit of that, where it's like every day is
There's carrots
You know,
along the
yeah.
way. Yeah. Not denying that.
man.
Whereas
I just
doing
think there's some boring stuff.
It's kind of
right
like I mean, think about it as a longer version of like driving out west to go see the Grand Canyon. Like, not everything that you pass is cool. There's little nuggets here and there.
But boy, when
then
you see the cool things,
cool thing,
it
you're
makes
like,
the boring
whoa.
things not
Right.
matter.
So
Exactly.
it's
You
think
know
about
something's
it as
coming.
as a
Yeah.
larger.
Yeah.
You know,
if you run your block 19,000 times, you're
There's
not,
nothing
there's
new
no
coming.
motivation there.
You're gonna see a PT Cruiser riding with 3 wheels from time to time, or something ridiculous.
That was very specific. Did you see that?
No,
Okay.
Oh, dang,
You're gonna
man,
get
I
That's
bit
thought
by
that was
some
immediate in your
dogs,
head.
though.
Yeah,
I thought
okay,
that was going to be a
perfect. There
great
it is.
story.
I wish it was more.
that's
Wow.
amazing.
How many dogs do you think you get bit by
None,
in that many
dude.
miles?
What, in the block scenario, or like running around the block?
Yeah.
None.
None. I don't get. Do you get bit
Well,
by
if you're
dogs?
doing,
Hey,
None.
well, if
In-
you're doing
in
the
the-
same block, hopefully it's not one with like a
Right.
dangerous dog on it.
well,
Maybe you would pick
hey,
a different
I'm
block.
just saying. In the however many thousand miles I've run in my life, I've been chased by a dog 3 or 4 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay,
I
that's
haven't.
happened once in my
That's
lifetime.
crazy.
I think.
But I mean, but I'm just saying. So how many miles?
Maybe this is something
19,000
We need
miles.
to get a mailman on the pod to
Yeah.
see like how bad dogs of
We need
bad
the
of a problem
government
dogs are.
we need some
mail service. to
Right,
help
we need
us
some
out.
statistics on this of percentage of miles
miles.
walked.
Yeah, how many miles does it take to get
and,
bit
and
by
dogs and dogs bit.
Just bring your bear spray.
Dog bites.
Bring the fart
Jesus.
spray.
First spray might do it.
Don't.
Especially if it was
Did
little
anybody
ankle
else
biters.
have any?
I looked up
I
some,
have one more, but like we don't have to do it right now.
I did look up some
throw up two.
FKTs for the PCT.
Okay, sweet.
So obviously we talked about Carl. He's got both AT
Carell.
and PCT, and so that's for supported. For the self-supported, well, I guess I should probably tell you his time for that. So for the
For the okay
For the
but
PCT.
Do you know the average time it takes
do.
people to do the PCT?
the
Start
average,
there.
the average time. There's thousands of thru hikers that do it. It usually takes about 5 months. That's the average time to do the entire
Shout out
PCT.
to Air Force.
So each year, or I'm sorry, only this is an interesting fact. Only about 23% actually complete the PCT.
What's the percentage that finish the AT?
I think it's 51.
yeah, I was gonna.
Or no, I'm sorry, no,
that's too
it's
high.
25.
Right,
It's
I was
25.
gonna say it was
It's
similar. It was
25,
similar.
25 completed.
That's
so,
wild.
Yeah, it's close. The PCT is from Mexico to Canada, technically. So for
Yeah.
it literally goes through the U.S. It is 2,592.6 miles long with a vertical gain of 400,000 feet. Okay,
That's nothing. That's it.
so
Stop.
Carl did it in 45 days, 12 hours, and
Carell?
50 minutes.
That's enough.
He did that on August 26th in 2023.
I was just gonna say that was last year.
He finished last week.
Self-supported
nuts.
FKT, the PCT, was done by Josh Perry in August 7th, 2022. 55 days, 16 hours, and 54 minutes.
Shit, you crazy, Josh Perry.
Yeah. So the females.
That's crazy talk.
There was one self-supported FKT for the PCT, which is Heather Anderson. She did the trail on completed the trail August 7th in 2013 and did it in 60 days, 17 hours, and 12 minutes.
Wow.
And there have been 2 people on record for doing a yo-yo
Really?
on the PCT. That's a total of 5,185.2 miles.
Did they have trail names that are yo-yo related?
No trail names on them.
Damn, it's disappointing, man. Missed
And
opportunity.
all this is done by FKT, like fastestknowntime.com.
Yeah. Oh,
which is
gotcha,
like a thing.
gotcha. That's
like,
cool.
The FKTs for people that I've kind of noticed for all these,
Speed runs.
they are all. Some of them don't even qualify themselves as athletes. That's bullshit. You're a f***ing athlete if you're doing an FKT and doing that many miles in a day. You're straight up an athlete.
Yeah.
Some of them
Well,
are
it's
like
probably
run
like
coach.
it's probably like the dude that's like he's a dentist, right? So he's like, oh, I'm not an athlete because I'm a
Right.
dentist. But like, no, you're still a f***ing
Yeah,
athlete.
but like some of the people are like riders, or they're like they just hike, and they do some other things, content creation and stuff like that. But the 2 people that did the yo-yo, Scott Williamson completed it in 191 days, 1 hour and 20 minutes.
See, that's impressive.
fast.
Yeah, like
That's
the
fast.
AT one's 300
Right.
days. Yeah, so
That's fast.
191.
Yeah, that's
And
fast.
then Olivia McGolan
It's blistering.
did
fast.
it in 195 days. Period.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Here's I have a weird question.
Yes.
About like unsupported fast known times.
Okay.
Do you have to have like? Do they have to like have witnesses
Yes.
for some of this stuff? Okay, I was gonna say because like it's probably pretty easy if you're unsupported to cut off a big
Right.
chunk of trail if you wanted to,
Right.
and obviously
Like
you would hope nobody would
hitchhiking
want
and
to do that,
stuff
but
like that.
like
Yeah.
I mean, but there's like a famous story of like a Boston Marathon
Right.
winner who
Yeah.
like took a
Cut
bus.
off half of
Hopped on a
the
scooter
bus.
for 3 miles.
Yeah, no, it's like pretty crazy. She took it was like a pretty famous story, and I don't remember her name. I didn't do any research on this, so I don't remember. But like, you know, she took a bus at some point,
Yeah.
and like they were witnessing after like she won, like everyone was going crazy. It was
That's
the fastest
shitty.
time ever, and everything like that. And then there were like people were like, "Oh, we're pretty sure we saw her." on
She
a
cut
bus,"
off
or like
she cut off a really big,
huge
like
amount of
half.
time because like the person that
It
was in
was
the lead
like-
was like, I didn't see her at all.
Right.
How did this happen? But anyways, so
Yeah.
like they probably in order to like
Yeah.
get this record,
Yeah.
you got to have like some witnesses and things like people saw
Yeah,
her here,
and some
checkpoints,
fucking integrity.
You know,
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I have a
Damn.
I think 3. They're more headline level. I don't have the detail that you have on them, but what stood out to me is just the challenge versus like the accomplishment. Because
Sure.
for the AT, challenging, like for sure.
Yeah.
But it's especially when you go international.
Yeah, when you think about
and
only
there's-
25 people actually completing it. Yeah.
Right. But when you look at other trails where it's less about the distance and more about how insane like the actual trail
Sure,
is
right.
and how intense it is. So the Drakensberg Grand Traverse in South
Drakensberg?
Africa. Drakensberg.
Drakensberg.
That's scary.
I'm already scared.
Right. So it's a challenging 127-mile hike. And the record for men's supported is 1 day, 17 hours, and 49 minutes.
Wait, how long? How many miles?
Whoa.
127 miles
Bro.
of challenging traverse
Whoa.
in a day and a half.
I don't like it.
Dude, again, we talked about this flat
Right.
in that time.
Right. Couldn't
Doesn't make sense to
Give me
my-
a
to me.
absolute a flat road and that amount of time I couldn't run that.
Wow.
I mean,
I mean,
that's
most of the people who like run like 100-mile, ultra marathons don't finish it in 24
Right.
hours. So
it's
that's crazy.
insane.
Bonkers.
So another Scotland's West Highland Way, beautiful but challenging trek covering 96 miles. Men's supported is 13 hours, 41 minutes and 8 seconds.
Oh, that's really nuts too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Women's supported is 17 hours and 16 minutes.
Wow.
Whoa.
And then
You
there's-
got to figure though. Your pack is like, dude, it's just water.
It's I mean
and
that's
goo
supported.
packets. Yeah,
That's supported. So you're basically I mean I would assume you're kind of just running it like you would a marathon.
In that
but-
amount of
yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah. You're
you
not
wouldn't
carrying a
have
10
much.
or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
You know, you're just literally running at that point.
And then there was one other one, mainly because I thought the
That's
trail
true, you don't have to,
the trail
like,
name was
survive.
cool. So
hey, just finish.
Te Araroa, or maybe just Aurora, is in New Zealand, and it's a 1,860 mile trek. And crap, I lost it. 49 days, 14 hours, and 27 minutes.
Hell yeah.
That's some feat shit, man.
I love that shit.
It's it's mind-boggling how fast you'd have to be moving to cover that amount of
the
distance.
human body can do some pretty incredible things. I think that's kind of like the takeaway from this is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you really want to try to do something and you put a lot of effort into it and you put the work in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
There's
can
a lot of
accomplish
crazy
a lot of
things you can do.
Absolutely, dude.
You know?
It's crazy.
Man.
If nobody had anything else, I want to end with
Sure.
one.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty interesting. And I'm going to ask you this question before we get into it. So, like, who do you think, like, okay, so there's one person who has done the AT the most amount of times. What do you think that number is? Oof. Where they've completed it.
18.
14 was mine. It's the first number that popped in my head.
I was gonna say like 6.
Alex, did you look at my notes?
No, was it 18?
Is it
It's
18?
fucking 18, dude. Really? Are you kidding me? Dude, get out of here.
Buy a
Wow.
lottery ticket.
That's
tomorrow.
so insane.
Also my hockey
dude.
number.
So like,
Hey.
I think at first I was like, oh, but then I thought about it.
That's
okay?
bonkers, dude.
That's 18 years. That's because you can't. Again,
Right.
he didn't yo-yo it. He didn't
Right.
like. You didn't
That'd be 9
he didn't
years
fly
of
down and then
continuous
start it
hiking.
again. That's 18 times.
Yeah.
This guy is okay. So this dude's an interesting cat. I don't know if you've
Whoa.
ever heard of Warren Doyle, but this dude is kind of like half
I've heard that
legend,
name.
half kind of like infamous dude.
You would have
when
to
it
be
comes
if you
to-
did that many times.
Yeah,
In a way.
he hasn't learned his lesson.
In a way, So what's interesting about this dude? So like, and this happened in a time frame from 1974 to 2017. So the most recent one was 2017, but his first one was 1974. What's crazy about this is that he actually held the speed record 50 years ago. 66 days.
That's pretty good still, though.
That's so good.
Damn. Wow.
50 years ago.
Wow.
That's crazy. So like this dude's like obviously like he can recount like almost every mile of the trail. He knows it probably better than anybody else.
For sure.
Interesting
Dude, if
cat.
you've done
but,
it 18 times.
18 times is insane, dude. That's a lot of miles.
You're naming routes at that point.
He's
50 years ago. That was back when boots lasted you like 3,000 miles.
yeah, right. But what's the reason why I say he's kind of like a not a controversial figure, like infamous, but he's kind of like a really. He's super opinionated. He kind of thinks that the AT has gotten too novel. He has some harsh opinions like that, like kind of like an old man.
I think anyone that gets
upset
so
that everybody now knows about the AT.
Specific
and if you know something that intimately,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I'm sure if there's some listeners that have like probably heard about this dude and like know what he's all about. So like there's a really, really good article on Outside that somebody wrote about him, and he's really, really long. I mean, I read it and then I was like, okay, and then the real article started. And I was like, oh, that was just the intro. Holy shit.
That was just the appetizer.
Yeah. But it's so he does this kind of like a backpacker's workshop that you can pay for. Like a lot of people who like before they do the AT, maybe they'll take his class, right? Because this is obviously he has a great resume, right?
If you're gonna learn from someone,
a lot of people though walk away from it like, what the f did I just do? Because he doesn't like go into like a lot of it's like kind of like ranting.
Yeah.
And a little bit of like just like
him of being given his opinion.
He just has a platform.
He's kind of has like a personality, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you like what his
which some people like that, but
some people like that stuff.
I don't disagree.
Like
well, and that's part of it's old men screaming at the sky kind of thing. Like we're gonna look at stuff that we grew up with that we think has been tarnished by the new generation,
and
or whatever.
That's this dude, right? Like, but anyways, like it's an interesting
Back then
article.
I did it in my bare feet.
Yeah,
it was uphill both ways.
But you don't have to wear Crocs every day.
Warren Doyle, 18 times, pretty impressive. Had the speed record. Interesting cat. Definitely something to like. He's a dude that you should look up and like see because he's
reminds me
interesting
of,
dude in the backpacking community.
That reminds me of like when we look at 14 Peaks and the 8,000ers and stuff. It's like you spend an entire lifetime trying to it's like it's not quantity over quality, but it's like trying to accomplish so much of a thing. It takes the better part of your life.
Yeah.
And
listen, bro,
it's like that's a nuts thing. Doing 127 miles in a day is like that's amazing. Yeah, you did it in a day.
I don't know.
The rest of your life, you can just have that, and you can do it.
You're totally right.
That's like cool.
You're totally right.
You're dedicating your 40
whole
years,
life.
Your whole adult life to this thing.
That's another perspective to think about, man.
That is definitely interesting.
Wow,
it's wild.
That's cool, dude.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start training to do an FKT of the
this studio.
You know what? You guys pick. You guys pick. Do I do an FKT of the PCT or the AT? Leave us a comment, write us an email. The email is trailtheorypod@gmail.com, and we'll see how fast I can get that thing done.
And Brian will have to do it.
He has to do it.
Dies.
Yeah,
hey,
for sure.
I'm a local legend on the 0.3 mile section in Strava of a part of my neighborhood.
There you go. All right.
Hell
there you
yeah.
go. You got that for the rest of your life.
That's great.
That's right.
Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Don't forget we're on YouTube and I guess all the other platforms for audio streaming. So everything. So find us, Trail Theory Podcast. We appreciate listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Those are some pretty great feet.
The Trail Theory Podcast is sponsored by Audimute and Audio Technica. Music by Dan Koch.